Each day, New York's crowded streets are abundant with the sights, smells, and sounds that make the city so easily recognizable. But at night, something else scurries around the city streets. New York is known for its rats. Next to the pigeon, they are probably the closest thing the city has to a mascot.
They are fascinating. They are complex in their behavior. Other people obviously would think that they are disgusting, they're vermin.
People who move here from out of state are just not ready for the amount of rats that we have out and about.
New York City has long been considered one of the rattiest cities in America. Some estimate around 2 million rats call it home. While most New Yorkers have accepted rats as part of city life, they pose various health risks. And while government agencies work to manage the problem, some New Yorkers have taken it into their own hands.
I see rats that you don't, and they're going bananas here tonight.
Here is how New York City rats out its rodents.
Rats have been here since the city was founded. Rats have lived in the city. Rats have survived in the city by the law of large numbers.
Richard Reynolds and his team of rat-hunting canines have prowled the streets of New York City for nearly 30 years.
My official title is rat catcher, and I try to live up to that high honor when at all possible. The dogs are trained to dispatch rats. They have jobs that they do. There are catch dogs that stand out away from the action and wait for rats to run. Then you have the push dogs that go into trash bags and other places and make the rats bolt to the catch dogs.
This dog right here, Rommel, he's a Yog Terrier, and basically what this dog does in the group is he sniffs him out, and he kind of like sets him up so the other dogs can knock him down, so to speak.
Richard and his group hunt all over Manhattan, often responding to requests from rat-phobic New Yorkers.
We're in New York City, and we have an abundant supply of rats. Big, fearsome, ugly rats. We're doing a bit of a service. We don't claim to be any great savior to the city, but we're making the rat infestation problem better, one rodent at a time. Well, you're going to see what looks like mayhem. It's actually very controlled mayhem and very well-planned mayhem.
Camera with me. Give me the camera. I need a camera over here. Over here. Right there. You guys ready? Here we go. Here we go. Party.
In New York City, the rat that we see is the rattiest norvegicus, commonly referred to as the Norway rat, but probably more accurately referred to as the brown rat.
These brown rats made their New York City debut in the mid-1700s. As ships would set sail for the colonies, rats would stow away on board and find a home in the New World.
What has made them so successful in New York City is that there's always been a dense population of people that have provided food and water for them. And given those essential needs for survival, they have done very well.
Rats are nothing short of adaptable. They can survive on just 1 ounce of food and water each day. They also reproduce quickly, with the average gestation period lasting from 21 to 23 days. A female rat births around 8 pups in a single litter. These newborns will then begin to reproduce with other rats in just 5 weeks.
So one of the things that has allowed rats to persist in New York City is the old infrastructure. Old sewer lines and subway tunnels that are underground are harborage for them, especially in the wintertime. And so rats have been able to use that space to survive the colder months and also to possibly move underneath the city and access new areas. We see another rat species throughout the United States, and that is the roof rat or the black rat. That rat is found in more tropical regions and especially on coastal areas.
But rats are territorial, and the veteran New York brown rats have made it hard for others to survive.
If a new couple of individuals are introduced on a ship, they may be outcompeted and killed by the existing population. So it's interesting to think that our rats are the same genetic history as the rats that were brought from the 1700s.
Since they arrived centuries ago, rats have evolved into two distinct groups. And like human New Yorkers, they can be classified by their neighborhoods, uptown and downtown rats. A 2017 study from Fordham University found that both groups differ genetically and are separated by a geographic barrier, Midtown. But Midtown Manhattan is not rat-free, not even close. The area is more of a commercial district. There is less household trash and backyard space for rats to thrive off of than in uptown or downtown Manhattan.
So rats have strong food preferences where they develop a taste for certain flavors based on those flavors in their mother's milk. So rats that are feeding on a particular food type, their offspring will have a preference for that food. And if we move them to a different area, while they will eat something to stay alive, they have strong preferences for what mom ate and the smells and the flavors associated with mom. You know, they have some really fantastic abilities that allow them to navigate human environments very successfully.
Bedford-Stuyvesant's neighbors on Rat Alert.
A sea of trash. That's what employees at Coney Island Auto Parts in Brownsville say is causing rats in their building.
Some calling it a public health issue that needs addressing immediately.
They can jump very high, they can climb rough surfaces, they can swim for a long period of time, they can chew through wood and plaster and all kinds of materials that we use in our buildings. They go from shadow to shadow like that. So even if there are people walking up and down this corridor, they may be, along the edges in, outside people's periphery, and then dart to an area that does provide cover. So that's why people consider them to be so smart and so diabolical, because they are able to move on the periphery of where we're looking in our vision.
Rats are known the world over to spread diseases. Over 35, in fact, whether it's through contaminated food or through parasites.
Being that rats and mice also carry a ton of pathogens, it is a matter of public health. They carry things like toxoplasmosis, salmonella, the bubonic plague, and we don't want any of that.
It's usually the exterminator that gets the first call when a rat is spotted.
I am an exterminator, and I'm an owner-operator of my own company. I do extermination of rodents, insects, and wildlife trapping. It wasn't the easiest line of work for a woman to get into, but once I got in, I excelled at it. It was just naturally fun and engaging work. I like working with the public. I like working in tough spaces, challenging jobs. As an exterminator, a typical day is getting up super, super early so I can see the action. I have keys for almost all of my restaurants. No one is around, it's quiet. I sneak in, I keep the lights off, I grab my flashlight, I flash it around the location, and I look to see what's scattering.
And it's rats that make up most of Anne-Marie's work.
I'm looking for rodents, I'm looking for things that will be out at night, dawn, and dusk. So there's an entire ecosystem in the wall voice of New York City buildings at all times that would probably make a lot of people want to vomit and jump out of their skin. There was one building specifically where I reached under a kitchen cabinet to set a trap, and I pulled my hand back out and it was covered in mites. So they looked to be about the size of lice, and that was my first run-in with rat mites. I was just setting a trap, and the mites were all over my skin, already starting to bite and feed on me. The most rats I've seen in one location was in a church basement in Bushwick, and there had to be at least 60. The floor was made out of a soft clay, and so they were burrowing right up under it and just popping right out. The tenants had garbage down there, and there was an old baptism tub. It was an abandoned church. So there was just constant water. It was always backed up. The plumbing was never cut off. As you can see, somebody tries to close the rodent hole with spray foam. And generally, a rodent can gnaw through weak concrete, mortar, wood, very easily, and plastic. So something like this does not keep them out. The entry point for this building in particular is right here. You can see that there's a hole in the building. If I stick my hand up, it just goes all the way up. So there is a gap where there's a lack of insulation. Definitely no solid insulation. And if you look at these brown marks right here, where the concrete goes from gray to this dark color, that's actually from the rat's body. It's an oil they secrete called sebum. It leaves a scent trail, and it will invite other rats to actually follow them up in here. As we could see by the extreme amount of darkened color, there is quite an infestation, and we've got some droppings right here in the corner, and the scent of urine.
New outdoor structures built quickly during the COVID-19 pandemic have given the city's rats more places for harborage.
We're going to go right over here. Here we have basically a rodent paradise as far as shelter and harborage goes. They love slipping into tiny gaps like this. Most of these platforms, as you can see my hand goes in, are not built all the way to the street, so they're not flush. It's not a real platform, so there's enough of a gap underneath where the rats can slip inside. They can bring food in there. Of course, diners are also dropping food down there. Garbage is being sprayed under there by hoses, just you name it, anything. Ah, here we go. If you look over here, whoops, we've got a perfect cluster of rodent burrows. These are rat burrows. When rats do tunnel into the ground, they like to have two entryways. That way, in case a predator comes or they need to get out because they're competing with another larger rat, or the female is protecting her young, she has another way to exit the underground lair. So we have about 8 entryways right here alone. You could feel that the ground is soft. The rats will set up shop here and make a home here because the garbage is plentiful. So after I get home from a particularly nasty day at work, I strip right inside my front door, get the clothes off, they go right in a bag, and they get ready to go right into the laundry because, again, these rats carry a lot of bacteria and pathogens, and we don't want to bring any of those into the home environment. It's gross. If I was in charge of getting rid of all the rats, the very first thing I would do would be to get rodent-proof trash receptacles. If you eliminate the competing food source, the rats will be more likely to, 1, not breed as often, 2, not set up shop in places where people are. They're with us because of our garbage and our littering.
In the summer of 2017, the city launched a $32 million citywide initiative to reduce the rat population in 3 target areas by 70%. The city installed 336 big belly solar compactors with no accessible entryway for the rats. The city now requires increased trash pickups, and any person caught illegally dumping trash faces heavy fines. But some of these new and improved trash cans are not as effective as advertised.
There you see solar-powered, compacting, rat-proof can, whose purpose is totally defeated by being left open, by all the stuff around the edges. So you might just as well have a regular old container. They don't work because they don't lock them. So the rats go in down below.
So city exterminators look to other methods.
There is a rodent bait station, and this is being used by the Department of Health to manage a known population. And so inside would be most likely either a rodenticide that is a bait that the rodent would feed on, and then within a week or so succumbs to the active ingredient. Or in some cases, what they do is they have a non-toxic bait, so it doesn't have the active ingredient, and then they'll put snap traps in there. So the rodent will come, they'll get used to the bait, and then they'll deploy a trap, and that will catch the rodent that comes in.
One of the most effective traps I use are the old school wooden Victor snap trap. People think that this is an outdated mode of catching rats. It's actually one of the better ones. Rats are neophobic. They tend to avoid things that they're unfamiliar with or that are not part of the environment that they've been running around. It is wooden, so it's not too much of an alien substance to the rat like hard plastic is. It absorbs the scent of the atmosphere of the environment.
But still, rats persist. And some New Yorkers have taken it upon themselves to manage the problem.
Camera with me. Give me a camera. I need a camera over here. Over here. Right there. You guys ready? Here we go. Here we go. Party. Oh, there we go. That's what I'm talking about. Are you not?
We started about 30 years ago over in New Jersey at Liberty State Park, and we had a dog show there that was fairly overrun with rats, and some of our dogs decided on their own to handle the problem. And the park superintendent saw that and said, hey, can you guys come back and make it a regular thing? And Rats was born. Several weeks ago, a man came out very poorly dressed, not elegant by any stretch of the imagination, said, are you the Ratters? And I said, yes. And he handed me a $20 bill. And it looked to me like he didn't have a $20 bill to spare. But he cared that much, and that impressed me. Any dog will catch a rat. Any dog will kill a rat. The terriers do it faster and better than the other breeds, and they endure. They have the tenacity to hang in there. 100 rats a night are not enough for them. They still want more.
You know, it was another time we went by like a pretty serious crime scene with like a bunch of blood. And then there's just crazy stuff like seeing a rat get ripped in half by 2 dogs.
And then there's a guy who said, no matter where you are in Manhattan, you're no more than 30 feet from a rat. You may not see it, you may not know it's there, it may be under you, over you, but they're there. And this is true. There have been rats here for 15, 20 years in this very pile.
When I drop him into a garbage can or a dumpster and he just shakes it all Jurassic Park style, it's really fun. The dog, yeah, like he's gonna go into the dumpster and go Jurassic Park on all the rats.
Whoa, behind you. Rats like to run alongside the building. Sometimes they live in boxes. There you go, right there. And that was a graphic demonstration of the efficacy of poison, because I kicked the bait box and a rat was living in there. We don't charge to hunt. We don't pay to hunt. We do it for the dogs.
23, Mighty got 9, Chunk got 10. We're not really having an effect on the rat population in New York. We do it for the dogs first, for the enrichment, for the fulfillment of the dog's DNA. We're helping the community out secondary to it, which is good. But you're never going to control a rat population in New York City. It's a never-ending thing. Certain areas, you thin it out a little bit. But dude, you give it a couple of months, it's right back where it was.
From traps to improving sanitation to hunting dogs, people are always coming up with ways to wage war on the city's rats.
Norway rats are definitely the most challenging pest to get rid of because they are smart, they acclimate well to humans, and they are neophobic, meaning they're afraid of new things. So if I do set out traps, if I set out bait stations, the rat will actually avoid it and not go near it because it knows it's not part of the natural environment. And there's nothing more unnatural for them than a plastic box that shows up out of nowhere with a strange and chalky and nasty food source in it.
Exterminators, researchers, and city officials alike urge New Yorkers to be vigilant in doing their part.
The only thing that's ever going to reduce rats to a manageable level is to clean up. If you remove the food supply, the rats go away. Plain and simple.
It's important that we consider we want to manage the problem, but the problem didn't start in one day. The problem started over time as rodents were attracted to an area for food, and so now we have to take that time to manage the population effectively. Otherwise, we're not going to be able to eliminate the problem from a site.
Completely eliminating New York City of all its rats is an impossible task.
The rat population is transient. It doesn't stay in one place, and it literally moves across the city in waves. The rats have survived by the law of large numbers, and they'll continue to do it. You can't possibly beat them. The best we can do is hope to manage them.